From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE with the latest update about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. As on Saturday night, a special congressional session passed the $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill in the subcommittee called the Budget Subcommittee, meaning that they passed $3.5 trillion of checks to come to the American people. Checks of all magnitudes, all those three clusters covered on this channel in the last few weeks. A historic achievement for the Democrats. I'll explain in this video what's coming up next. Today, the infrastructure on a Monday will be called for a vote, but will the vote happen today or over the next few days? Then the clusters now head to the president's table. Why? Not for a signing, but for a confirmation, and also senators. What are those clusters? Cluster number one, checks for seniors, $51,000 of MSCs, checks for bikes, cars, and vehicles, for the home, for students, and more. Cluster number two, checks for staying home because of family leave or medical leave. Cluster number three, checks for seniors and also workers. $3.5 trillion of checks passed on a Saturday night in what's now called the Build Back Better Act of America. All the latest details in this recording. Then we cut to the big surprise. An additional $13 billion is coming out to your cities and counties and states for rent. That was nowhere on our timeline, and it's deliciousness. We'll be cutting to fourth stimulus. We'll be cutting to fifth stimulus. We'll be cutting to third stimulus, and we'll be cutting it to the debt ceiling limit. As the federal government could shut down on Friday, what does this mean for you, your money, the legislation, and more? It's a big day, and the latest details are coming up as the passage of a recon out of subcommittee is a historic day for the American people. We'll go over all the details starting right now from Santa Monica, California. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day across the planet and across the states. Hope you are good and safe. If you were with me last weekend, you heard the breaking news. I told you last weekend was going to be a jam-packed weekend, and it was. As broadcast channels close, YouTube channels close, print media close, you heard the breaking details when they happened. On Saturday night, the House had a special session of a subcommittee called the House Budget Committee, and they passed your $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill. A historic day for the American people, a historic day for the channel. All those clusters of checks covered on this channel got in there. But what about those stimulus checks from IRS? We'll go over all the details of that. We'll go over what happens now. Will it go for a quick vote on the House floor? Will it go to the Senate? Will it go to the president? And what about infrastructure, which starts voting today? Will it get done today or will it go several days? We'll go over all those details and more. We'll be cutting over to fifth stimulus. We'll be cutting over to third stimulus as well. And then the federal government set to likely shut down on Friday. Does this impact your checks that you receive monthly? It does not. I'll explain all the details in a big afternoon, and it starts right now. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. The family that fights together, pushes together, and loves together. So hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and let's consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. As members are now getting $50,000, $80,000 a day from this channel. The newsletter coming out tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for members. Let's cut right to the breaking details, which if you are a viewer and you watched it on Saturday and Sunday on this channel, you heard it first. Saturday night, the Budget Committee of the House approved the complete budget bill, $3.5 trillion reconciliation package bill, aka for stimulus, passed it with flying colors. They voted from their cars, they voted from their offices, from their kitchen countertops, remotely, and they passed it. House and Republicans and Democrats vote. Republicans voted against it, Democrats voted in favor of it, and it passed. $3.5 trillion. This means that all these incredible clusters, which I've covered on this channel, hazard pay, checks for seniors, checks for workers, got in there. But we don't know yet still about whether the MSC IRS checks got in there as well. More about that in a second. But this is huge because now these checks are set up to come out to you. So what is the next step? Well, Pelosi made specifically clear on Saturday night that she didn't want to extend it for a quick floor vote on the House, which she could. Any other bill, any other day of the week that I would be covering on this channel, she could simply just call for a quick vote on the House floor, and it would be rubber stamped, approved in 10 seconds. But she didn't. Why? Because she said negotiations are still underway with the Senate Democrats for what they want to put in there, and the president for what he may want to still put in there. In fact, if you turn on broadcast media today, they were still talking about changes. Moreover, a lot about the items of changes for taxes, like inheritance and a massive wealth tax. Ron Wyden's additions, who's a senator, his topics were the topic of discussion on broadcast media. But those provisions that are otherwise been covered on this channel, like hazard pay, money for seniors, bikes, cars, weatherizing your home, college grants, individual checks for seniors, workers, cheaper prescription medication, which I'm going to go over in just a second, they all got in there and passed. So then what's next? I'll have all the details in just a second. And then we'll be cutting to the exciting details of cluster number 1, cluster number 2, and cluster number 3 checks. We'll be cutting to those MSC checks. And then we'll be cutting over to third stimulus and fifth stimulus and the debt ceiling limit. But first, let's get to those MSC IRS stimulus checks. It's important to understand that what was passed on a Saturday night is not really a bill. It does not have an HR on it. It's not a bill until it's introduced to the House floor. It's really the markup of what will become a bill called the Build Back Better America Act of America. We have to presume, worst case scenario, is that they did not get those IRS MSC checks in there. And then we have to push down the finish line because guess what? Even if they are in there on the bill, on the markup, they can take it out before it goes to the bill format. Even if it's in their bill format, they can take it out. Even before it lands in the Senate, they can take it out. You have to assume it's not in there because the most important part of the ingredient always is the senators. They're going to be voting first. The word exclusives delivered on this channel over the last 3 months, all accurate, that the House would be writing the legislation. They did. And the Senate is going to vote last. They are. So the senators are part of the negotiations, said Pelosi, confirming our reporting, late Saturday night. Let's cut to the first 645 pages of the 2,400 page bill. And those checks are incredible. There's hazard pay, money for seniors, children, $51,000 of MSCs, which got a massive change on Saturday night, weatherization checks for the home, checks for students, and more, bikes, cars, and vehicles. Let's go over all the credible details. These are checks that got into the passage on Saturday night. First, hazard pay. This channel has been the single biggest focus point across the planet for advocacy of hazard pay, and we got it in there a lifetime. It's important to remember that everything up for stimulus, this recon that passed on Saturday night, is not pandemic related. It's called Build Back because it's not about the pandemic. It's about the life after the pandemic. Hazard pay will be lifetime. Wow. They're taking an old tax code called the Earned Income Tax Credit and expanding its eligibility so more people qualify for it, and then broadening the amount of money. So if every year that you work as an essential worker and you fall within that zone of eligibility, you qualify for this incredible sums of money each year. Then what about $4,000 of money to you every year? Yes, if you care for an elderly person and are in that zone of eligibility, you'll get up to $4,000 a year to care for the elderly in your home. On the flip side, you'll get up to $4,000 a year to care for your young child as well. What about $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks over 18 years? It got in there with a wonderful twist. The federal government vote on Saturday night ensured that the CTC, the child tax credit, is lifetime. How does this work? If you have a child you just gave birth to in a low-income family household, you will get up to $300 a month every month for that child, up to 18 years that family remains as a low-income household. That's $51,000 a child. It's a historic day for the country. But an also historic vote on Saturday night. In a last-minute twist, that's why you guys stay with this channel. There's always these last-minute twists. At 11th hour change, they put in a change to the CTC to fix something that was not fixed. That if you're a guardian that raises a child who lost their father, their mother, their entire blood relatives, and you are the guardian of that child or the foster parent, you previously on a third stimulus got nothing. Nothing. They changed the code so you would get it as well. Then what about repairs for the home? If you live in a low-income community, there's checks in there to repair your home. What about checks for students? Yes, college grants directly to you, to the university, and making the Pell Grant tax-free. And then the last great checks are the bike, car, and truck. All electric, all U.S. auto manufacturer. Up to 15% of the purchase price of a new electric bicycle. Up to $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. Personal or business use, a little bit more for business use, and then a little bit more for an electric truck. Wow, that is the first cluster of checks. We're going to go over the second and third and those and the MSC IRS stimulus checks in just a second. But let's cut now to a big surprise. Third stimulus for just a second. Third stimulus is getting an additional cash infusion of $13 billion landing in cities, counties, and states for rent utilities. This is huge because a lot of people still have the ability to get rent further into the future. Treasury set out this money 2 weeks ago. It's part of third stimulus, part of the allocation of $47 billion. They hadn't sent out the last $13 billion. Treasury is happy to provide the state and local governments with these additional resources to help Americans in time of financial need. All right, let's turn to the second cluster of checks. These, again, are part of the checks that passed on Saturday night as a historic vote late into the night was held in the House of Representatives Budget Subcommittee. Cluster number 2 checks are deliciousness because they're huge payments. The first one are checks for paid leave and paid medical leave. These are checks that are paid per week. Federal government gives the money to the employer and then to you. How much is pay? Up to $1,700 a week on a third stimulus. Wow. If you make over $70,000 a year, it would be $1,700 a week. Split in half. $35,000 annual salary. Then you would get $800 a week. Split in half again. Let's say you make $15,000 a year, you get $400 a week. Then we have checks for childcare programs, checks for household tax credits, and then checks for seniors like dental, vision, hearing checks, and lowering medical eligibility age checks. And then checks for weatherizing your home. This is the second check in here. For the home, weatherizing your home, definitely needed, especially when the Purple Hawk's on the roof and it's Fox News. Weatherizing your home, definitely well needed. This is if you're in a tornado area or fire zone, something like that. Then we have more checks for students. Yes, the second cluster of checks. Checks for affordable, for free kindergarten, pre-kindergarten, and then tuition-free community college. This is a very needed provision because a lot of people are now taking the very popular community college class called What the World is LATE Saying? He Talks Funny 101. It's for people who think Los Angeles is a dialect. They think LA just has their own dialect. We do. So now you can take the foreign language called What is LA Saying? And you can get a degree in it. There you go. Then we got green energy checks. Wow. Well, what is Congress doing today? What did Congress do on Saturday? What's Congress doing this week? This is perhaps the million-dollar question because by the hour, by the minute, I don't think they know. I don't think they know. Up to now, everything I've been able to predict has been right. What did I predict? That the House and Senate Democrats would be negotiating the provisions of the $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill. They are. In fact, as they passed it on Saturday night, Nancy Pelosi said, you know what? Negotiations continue. The quote was, negotiations continue with the Senate. That was her quote on Saturday night. Number 2, I have been telling you that the House would be the authors of the legislation. They are. 2,400-page bill or markup of what would be a bill called Build Back America. But which goes for a vote first? Which goes for a vote second? I'm going to be going over the voting process the final 15 minutes of this video. But what's important to understand is that a lot of this, almost all of this, is behind closed doors. They are not broadcasting this on C-SPAN. They're not appearing on TikTok. And you will not see them calling up whoever they're calling up today. Who are they calling up today? Nancy Pelosi confirms she's speaking with the president about his potential changes. She's talking with the senators about the potential changes. You're not going to see these talks anywhere on broadcast media. The next 5 days, including today, all the way through Friday, are described by Pelosi as a time of intensity. Oh boy, they are. I'll explain in the final 15 minutes how this time of intensity is very rich across the board. When looking at those monthly stimulus checks, IRS monthly stimulus checks, Democrats from the House and the Senate told over 1,000 viewers of this channel they are in there. Those Democrats from the House and Senate told viewers of this channel the same thing. They are in there. Offices of Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, Wyden telling viewers over 3 weeks that the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check is in there. Now, remember, senators go last. Remember, Nancy's calling up the senators right today to see what they want to make changes about. Then over on the House side, AOC, Jalapal, Omar, Pelosi, their offices told viewers of this channel, dozens of viewers of this channel, that the provision was put in there, that it's running monthly, $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000. They told viewers going into last week, and the negotiations were near complete, that there were monthly stimulus checks, and that the provisions were $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000. That's what they told the viewers. They didn't tell one viewer. They didn't tell 2 viewers. They told over 1,000 viewers from nearly 10 different congressional offices they're in there. But we still have to assume they are not, because we have a lot of different steps, House floor, Senate floor, before we are over the finish line. We're not over the finish line yet, and I'm going to go over all that voting process in the final 15 minutes of this video. Let's cut to cluster number 3. These checks are deliciousness. These are checks for seniors and workers and free internet and cheaper prescription medication. Well, there's free school meals for all checks. There's cheaper prescription medication. There's checks for free internet. There's checks for farmers. There's checks for clean energy. Checks for workers. And then checks for seniors like dental, vision, and hearing care, lowering Medicare eligibility age. The big surprise in there is $107 billion of checks reallocated to you. I discovered what happened 2 weeks ago. The Senate parliamentarian, in a quiet news article buried in the middle of nowhere, said the Senate parliamentarian ruled that the judiciary cannot get a provision in the third cluster. I went back in my old notes, and it showed that that cluster is worth $107 billion. Oh boy. So where's that money going to? You. Wow. Let's go to 2 of those checks in this third cluster, which are nearly automatic, and would you see the savings in your wallet overnight? Several viewers have been saying they're absolutely incredible. They are. The first one is cheaper prescription medication. You would go to the pharmacy, let's say today, pay for a prescription. Let's say you take out 2 $20 bills to pay for it. This becomes law. Then the next time you go to pay for that prescription refill, you may only have to take out one $20 bill, instantly keeping more money in your wallet. Then free internet. They're going to give fortunes to cities, counties, and states so that they can launch free internet companies for you. Yes, every city, county, and state across the planet, red, blue, rich, and poor. Sirloin is wanting to do one. It's called T-Mobile. Yeah. So what is the Wi-Fi username and password? That's what you would call up and ask for. And they would say to you, sir, the username is Blaine66 and the password is Scarf101. Coming up in the second half of this video, we'll be going over more about those IRS stimulus checks, MSC. And then we'll be cutting more to third stimulus. We'll be cutting to the debt ceiling limit, which is very confusing. And it's getting even more confusing today and may impact the whole likelihood of what happens by Friday. Yeah, I'm going to explain everything about this. I don't think they know what's going on either. It's very, very fluid as a situation. The whole situation is very fluid. And then we'll be cutting over to fish stimulus. It's a very fluid situation as the House passed a $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill markup in subcommittee on Saturday, which would allow it to be basically rubber stamped today. But is it getting rubber stamped or is it getting modified? And should it get modified? I have all those incredible details as Afternoons LA continues right after this commercial break. There is so much coming up. I don't want you to miss anything. I don't want you to miss anything at all. In fact, I'm missing something. Yeah, I'm missing my little commercial thingy. I don't know. So you know what? Let's just play a little bit of this. And the second half of Afternoons LA continues right now without our little commercial. I had to do something in there. In the second half of this video, we'll be going over the big exciting news as the $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill passed on Saturday night. It's a markup of the bill. The bill will be called Build Back America, and it's deliciousness. Checks for seniors, workers, and more. I'll go over what does this mean for us. When would the House floor vote be on it? I'll be going over the voting process, especially the voting process on the infrastructure that starts Monday but may not be done on Monday. What? We thought it was going to be done on Monday. Oh, no. There's a twist, and everything is twisting left and right. We'll be cutting to then the big question mark about those IRS MSEs. We have to presume that after nearly 1,000 viewers of the channel have been told by congressional leaders, Sanders, Schumer, Warren, Wake, Casey, Wyden, AOC, Jalopal, Omar, and Pelosi, that they're in there, we have to presume they're not in there because we have to advocate down to the finish line. While they say they're putting it in there, Pelosi also confirms the whole process is still not done. We'll be cutting back to the debt ceiling limit, which is a big issue. And that debt ceiling limit is putting us in question for Friday. Because guess what? They don't get it done, then the federal government shuts down. But does that impact your checks as well? I have all the incredible details as a big Afternoons LA continues, and this is LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers at YouTube will recognize what you're part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Council, VIP. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto. Evenings LA, the brand new show tonight. Then shows at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 o'clock. It's very important you focus and watch those shows, at least one or two of them, between 6 and 11 o'clock at night, because it shows you how to track checks, shows you how the whole delivery of checks are at issue, those and more. But first, let's go into the big surprise as the president has an additional $13 billion extra for you for rent and utilities. This is huge. An additional $13 billion going out to cities, counties, and states for third stimulus for rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance. The numbers are astronomical. Get a pen, paper, cell phone ready. I can show you how to get these big sums of money right now. When we talk about rent, it has gone up 200% in a month. When we talk about utilities, it's gone up 300%. When we talk about SNAP, it's gone up 400%. What's happened? Viewers of this channel have gotten so sophisticated. Mark got 51,000, Johnny 80,000, Lorraine 100,000. I want you to get these monies as well. Here you go. A month ago, viewers were getting $20,000 from rent. Well, Jen last week got over $40,000 of rent, and countless other viewers are now getting over $30,000. Mark's brother-in-law got $15,000 for utilities. Look at that. That's a 300% increase from Angela a month ago. Then SNAP. Mark's brother-in-law got $21,000 of SNAP. That's a 400% increase from viewers just a month ago. So let's go over how you get these big sums of money. Get a pen, paper, and cell phone ready. Let's go over all the details starting right now. We get some rent, utilities, mortgages, and also some SNAP. I'm going to show you 6 places to reach out to. They have different eligibility. Reach out to all 6. If one says no, reach out to the next one. Also, they have different pots of money. Listen to the keywords I say in this video. And then the nonprofits. Wow, they're almost a show unto themselves. Well, they were. They're back on the channel. Here we go. You're going to reach out to the following 6 places. Your city hall, your city house authority. Your county hall, your county house authority. Your state hall, and your state house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID. Mortgage utility assistance because of COVID. You don't say words they don't know. Like Lobster Fest. There you go. Let's go over those 6 places again. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. Now, here's why it's important to become a member. The link's under the video. Members in the newsletter, which goes out every night at 7 p.m., now have a new added feature. The Treasury press release about the $13 billion. I want you to read that article first, because if you got money before from this channel for rent, I want you to get more months. If you reached out to the city or county or state and they said, we're out of money, I want you to read that article before you call them back. And then when you call them up, you're going to know what to say. Ask to get that money. They don't have it yet. Be put on a waiting list. Ask to be able to call tomorrow and the day after until you see that money, because it absolutely will land. Every red, blue, poor, and rich state, it's landing. But it's not going to be there forever. Then utility companies. I want you to reach out to all utility companies. So if you have 5, reach out to all 5. And then pots of money from the nonprofits. Here are the 5 nonprofits. Write them down: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. If you're a member of this channel, they're in the newsletter. You don't have to write them down. Well, the big surprise is that, one, they're paying very quickly. Nonprofits like St. Vincent de Paul, one viewer said, got the rent approved in less than 24 hours. United Way, same thing, in less than 24 hours. Other nonprofits are paying for great things. One viewer got a refrigerator, a brand new furnace, and also her window fixed. It's important to understand that there's a couple of great things happening with the nonprofits right now. The nonprofits were the feature of this channel. In fall 2020, in the thick of winter, and in spring 2021, in a popular show called Purple, over 500 videos appeared on this channel. But as we're in late summer, early fall, I want you to know the nonprofits are not getting that many phone calls right now. So this is the opportunity. I want you to get money for rent and utilities as far as you can. I want you to contact them right now because they have different pots of money. They'll pay for clothing sometimes, appliances sometimes, homeless people into shelter. Let's go to SNAP. SNAP is money for food. You get it from Department of Agriculture. How much does it pay? A lot. It's going up an average of 25% lifetime automatically. Mark's brother-in-law is going for $21,000 to $26,000. Now, SNAP is getting people confused, however, because there's 2 letters in the mail. The first letter says your benefits are going down. The second letter says your benefits are going up. The first letter explains that the benefit run from January to September that you was raised up because of executive orders is ending. We all know it's ending. But it doesn't tell you that it's going back up after that. Why? Because there's another letter in the mail right after this letter. The second letter you're going to get is going to say, hey, oh, and by the way, your benefits start going up in October, an average of 25% lifetime. So watch for that second letter. Then there's unemployment benefits. Yes, state is paying back those payments of overpayment of unemployment benefits due to computer error. Reach out to state. Average payments $2,000 to $5,000 for viewers of this channel. And then the repayment back from IRS for the 2020 taxes you paid taxes on for unemployment benefits. Average payment is about $1,200 to $2,000. Margaret got it, Cog got it, Michael got it. If you got any of these sums of money from this channel, post in the live chat because you inspire people. This channel is all about getting people money. I want you to get this big money as well. If you've not become a member, consider becoming a member today. The link is under the video. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calciano VIP. Members are delivered from me to them. A newsletter, formerly the PDFs, every night at about 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. In there detailing the big sums of money you can get under first, second, and third stimulus. And when fourth stimulus becomes law, I'm going to show you how you get each of these checks of the $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill. That's what I do. That's why Johnny got $80,000, Lorraine $100,000, Mark $51,000, Johnny's family members $100,000, Mark's friends and neighbors and brother-in-law $40,000 a pop. Viewers have learned as Purple Hawks how to get these big sums of money. I want you to promise yourself 2 things. 1, I want you to get money for rent, utilities as far as you can into 2022 because the money's available right now. It may not come back under 4th stimulus. I want you to get rent, utilities, mortgages as far as you can. Number 2, I want you to lean on the nonprofits. I want you to lean on the nonprofits because they're knocking a lot of calls now because it's not yet the winter months. So if you think that the city, county, and state, they won't pay you any more money, then lean to the nonprofits. They have all different eligibility. And with that, we go into the final 15 minutes of this video, starting right now with the passage of your $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill in the House subcommittee on Saturday night. On Saturday night, a House budget committee, the one that approves the entire spending plan of the reconciliation budget bill, passed it. Passed the $3.5 trillion of checks. Checks clusters number 1, 2, and 3. So what does this mean next? It means that if they were to call it a vote on the House floor in a blink of an eye, it would pass in a second because they would just rubber stamp it. But Pelosi held it back, saying that she's still negotiating with the Senate and she's still talking with the president. She wants their input and will make changes to that. Then when it's ready for a vote, it will go for a vote. Will it be today? Will it be tomorrow? I'll go over the voting process in just a second. But let's cut to the IRS MSC stimulus check, the automatic check. Well, over the last 3 weeks, and actually starting earlier than that, almost 8 weeks ago, nearly over 1,000 viewers of this channel were told by congressional leaders on the Senate and House side, Democrats, that there would be an MSC, monthly stimulus check, IRS in there. Going into the weekend, Pelosi's office telling viewers of this channel, and Omar and Jalapal and AOC, that is $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000, and that it would run for 6 months of $1,000 after that first month of $2,000. But what I want you to be laser focused on, focus at wise at the moment, is to presume that they haven't put it in there. Because I want you to push like they didn't come through. I want you to push like those 1,000+ viewers that were told by the legislators they're putting it in there. I want you to push like they didn't come through. Because until it's signed into law by the president, until we're over that finish line, we're not done. Let's go over what happened on this channel. 8 weeks ago, I said, pick up the phone and advocate. Call your Democratic senators and advocate for the inclusion of a stimulus check. And WR did. He was on Morning's Countdown this morning. And WR called up Senator Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, advocated for a stimulus check. And Senator Chris Coons' staffer said, yes, he's inserting a monthly stimulus check in the fourth stimulus recon. 3 weeks ago, I showed you the importance of Bernie Sanders to the equation. At the time, 3 weeks ago, I said a series of 2 exclusives, now that have been confirmed as true. Number one, that I thought that the House would be writing up the actual legislation, be the authors of the legislation. They in fact were. Number two, that the House will vote first on the recon. They are. And number three, that Bernie Sanders is pivotal to the situation. He is. There's a Senate Budget Committee and there's a House Budget Committee. The Senate Budget Committee does their own thing. House Budget Committee does their own thing. But they negotiate hand in hand. And Bernie Sanders 3 weeks ago said that, unlike prior budget chairmen, I like to get out amongst the people when doing a budget bill. That means he wants to hear from you. He was the guy that got the $3.5 trillion price tag and said there was far more than enough in there because he had asked for $7 trillion. He said the $3.5 trillion does it. I said pick up the phone and advocate to Bernie Sanders because he wants to hear from you. Margaret did it, Lynn Glenn, and Brother Joshua, volunteer from the 2020 community page of this channel, picked up the phone and advocated. Brother Joshua called up Bernie Sanders, advocating why I need it for my family, why I need it for my church, why I need it for myself. And Sanders' staff said emphatically and clearly to Brother Joshua, there is a monthly stimulus check in there, $1,000 to $1,400, 3 to 6 months, but needs to hear your support. That was the signal of what advocacy should look like. And then the floodgates opened from this channel. What does advocacy look like? Advocacy involves telling someone why you need it, how you need it, what it would do for your livelihood. And going into the weekend, we had 2 viewers who absolutely took this advocacy to another level. One whose name is Margaret, saying she picked up the phone, called her Democratic senator, and she advocated so vigorously, the staffer on the phone cried with her and said, yes, I'm putting it in there, MSE. Then another viewer picked up the phone and called her senator saying, listen, I lost everything during the pandemic, lost my husband, 10 surgeries for myself. I'm raising 2 teenage daughters on just an SSI check. I need it. Staffer telling her, yes, MSC is going in there. That was the face of advocacy. But after Brother Joshua, in that world exclusive from Sanders' office to Brother Joshua, after that world exclusive from Coons' office to WR, viewers started picking up the phone. And over the next 3 weeks, clearly over 1,000 viewers of this channel were told the same message. Thank you for advocating, and yes, the MSC check is in there. Donnie being told by Sanders' office, yes, it's in there. Donnie picking up the phone and advocating, I need it. This is why my family needs it. My city needs it. I need it. I need it to progress from where I am. And Sanders' office telling Donnie it's in there, MSC. Hurricane Tina calling up Sanders' office advocating for a very intense conversation, and Sanders' office telling Tina it is in there, MSC. Carolyn Smith calling up Sanders' office and advocating why we need help, how we're losing of our homes, and Sanders and the woman in Sanders' office telling Caroline, yes, Sanders is putting a stimulus check in there. Yaya calling up Ron Wyden's office advocating for it, and Ron Wyden's office telling Yaya, yes, the monthly stimulus check is in there. The advocacy continued by the end of that week, in which Will showed us you don't just call one office, you call 3 offices. And 3 separate offices told Will there is a monthly stimulus check in there. Schumer's office told Will there's a monthly stimulus check in there. Sanders' office told Will there's a monthly stimulus check in there. And Schumer and Elizabeth Warren's office told him there's a monthly stimulus check in there. Elizabeth Warren's office telling Will that she is doing $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months. It was at that point the list was very clear. Democratic senators had all stepped forward, and these were the ones that had told countless viewers of this channel that there's a monthly stimulus IRS check in that for stimulus recon. Coons's, Sanders, Warren, Schumer's, Casey, and Wyden's senatorial offices telling nearly 1,000 viewers they are in there. But then at that point I said, well, focus also on the House members because the House members are important. AOC Jalapal, Pelosi, and Omar. I said, pick up the phone and advocate to them. And unbeknownst to me at that time, Pelosi reportedly was the lead negotiator of the stimulus check provision, and that the authors to insert it were going to be AOC Jalapal and Pelosi's office and AOC's office confirmed. And then the process continued. Paul picked up the phone and called AOC's office 2 Fridays ago. And this is what Paul wrote about that conversation. Paul said, I called up AOC's office and she confirmed. She assured me that the AOC is putting into the reconciliation budget bill $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000 for 6 to 12 months. Janice calling up Jalapal's office. I called Jalapal's office and they also did say, yes, there's a stimulus check in there. Janice also called over to Omar's office the week later, and Omar's office confirming the same. Lorica calling over to Bob Casey's office, senator, and him confirming that, yes, the stimulus check is in there, and they're actually negotiating the amount of the check at the time. And then a week ago today, Bob calling over to Pelosi's office, advocating for a stimulus check. And her staff told me there will be a forced stimulus check in there. Pelosi's office told me there would be a forced stimulus check in there for $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for 6 to 12 months, and that they are almost finished, done negotiating it. And Lorraine making the phone call as well. I called Sanders' office, and he understands this, and they're putting a stimulus check in there. The calls continued, even with other people making the phone calls as well. By the weekend, we had the following before us. We had nearly 1,000 viewers of this channel told by senators and House members. Senators Schumer, Sanders, Casey, Coons, and Liz Warren's office, that there's a monthly stimulus check in there. And that's $1,000 a month at least. And then AOC, Jalapal, and most significantly, Pelosi's office, telling dozens of viewers, including Dragon, that there's a monthly stimulus check provision in there, that Pelosi advocated for $1,400 for 12 months, couldn't get it, and settled on $1,000 a month, and the deal was hatched, and that they're basically now setting it up to be written up, and that the authors would be AOC, Jalapal, and Pelosi, and Omar. Now, we have to approach the situation, as always, as if we're not done yet. We have to approach it as we're not done yet. Like they didn't take care of it. They're still working on it. They didn't get it in there. We always have to approach the situation like that. Why? Because these are the steps before us. House Budget Committee approving the budget bill, $3.5 trillion. But Pelosi saying it's not done yet because I'm still talking with the Senate and the House and the President. Well, if it's not done yet, make sure it's in there. Then next stop, the House floor for a vote. They're voting on it because maybe there's something that needs to get in there. That's a time to push as well and advocate. Then over to the Senate. The Senate sees something that's left out. We've done this 1,000 times on this channel. It's 2-day vote-a-rama. The senators can add something in there. Advocacy, the face of advocacy looks like this. I need it. My family needs it. My community needs it. My church needs it. I need it. Advocacy is not treating the senators' staffers like Western Union. When am I getting a check? Am I getting a check? No. Do not treat them like that. No one likes to be treated like that. They are not FedEx tracking. They're not UPS tracking, and they're not Western Union. You need to advocate, and you have to presume that the avocation doesn't end until we're over the finish line. Then let's turn over to the voting process. Boy, this is a strange bit of twists and turns. Starting on Monday, the vote on the infrastructure will begin pursuant to Pelosi's agreement with the prom creator of a few months ago. She did not say what time on Monday the voting process will start, and she did not agree that she's going to pass it either. On Friday, Jalapal told news that the infrastructure will die. The infrastructure, the bipartisan roads and bridges, will not pass the House. Very, very fascinating. Going in the weekend, I explained to viewers that I thought there's three possibilities. One, the Roads and Bridges does go for a vote on Monday before the recon, or two, the recon goes for a vote starting hours earlier before the Roads and Bridges, and that the Democrats could vote down the Roads and Bridges, pass the recon, and then recall the vote on the Roads and Bridges and approve it. But now there's an interesting twist this Monday afternoon, as there's now signaling from Pelosi's office that they start the voting on the Roads and Bridges today, but could take all week, could take all the way to Friday. Interesting. So the fact that someone starts the debate, which is, remember when we say voting, it includes the debate. When we see the word vote, it means they're calling the item for discussion. So, hey, let's argue on the House floor. I don't like it. I like it. I don't like it. That's not actually where they're calling a roll call vote, but we've informally called voting. That is the process that's actually starting today. So you may not actually see the yes or no on the infrastructure today. You may just see the floor arguing on the House of the infrastructure today. Really fascinating, because my only guesstimate at the moment, is that they're not going to allow the Democrats are not going to allow the Roads and Bridges to be called for a vote and passed. Called for a vote, roll call vote, and passed before the recon. They may argue it on the House floor and do whatever they want to do. They may even call for a vote and vote it down, but I don't think they're going to do it before the recon. Now, the debt ceiling limit. This one's very, very, very fluid. It's very hard to predict. I don't think they know what they're doing. I don't think they know exactly what's going on, as Pelosi says, this week of intensity. The federal government will shut down Friday if there's no agreement to the debt ceiling limit. At the moment, there's no likelihood that there will be an agreement. So I think that the federal government will shut down. Let's go over that for you, for the recon, and for everything else you need to know. First, does it impact your checks? No. If you receive Social Security benefits checks every month, or SSI or SSDI, or active member of the military, or your federal employee, your checks will arrive on time. Do not worry. It's only if this process goes a month long, or 2 months long in December. It historically, almost every year, once or twice a year, goes a few days over, or a week or 2 weeks over. That's no big deal. You're still going to get your checks on time. Number two, does it impact does the federal government shutting down not fund the recon? No. The federal government the federal government shutting down has to do with existing laws, not proposals or bills or markups of drills. The federal government will not have the funds, if it shuts down on Friday, to pay for Trump stuff and early Biden stuff, not things that are proposals of things that would come as legislation thereafter. Finally, would impact the voting process. This is where it's very fluid. It's very hard to get your hands and arms around it. I don't think they can either. Why? I said it doesn't impact the work process, because the House called and approved on the House side a funding bill to prevent government shutdown last week. They sent it over to the Senate. So they're not going to call for a vote again. It's out of the House. It's over into the Senate. So that's good. The House is working on your recon. The House is calling a vote on the Roads and Bridges. So it doesn't impact them, but the whole nuance is there's a lot to be done, and it's Monday to Friday. It's Monday to Friday. You got the federal government shutting down. You got Roads and Bridges, and you got recon, all in 5 days. Sometimes that works really well in your benefit, because when people are on the phone saying, hey, we got to get this done. Well, why don't you take care of my thing as well? Well, we'll take care of my thing. I'll take care of your thing, and we're done. It's worked before for these legislators. They did it in their second stimulus when we got the stimulus check in the seconds into the continuing resolution. My idea, and you pushed it out. And then they got a lot of stuff done. The federal government was supposed to shut down then. They got it done. And it was literally a blink of an eye. These next 4 days between now and Friday are just going to be intensity like you've never seen. You really can't miss a video by the minute. I'm back with you next with Evenings LA. We'll see if by the time of Evenings LA, whether there's whether there's a major twist or turn. There may likely be. Things can be changing by the hour. When we had this under second stimulus and third stimulus, things were changing by the hour. So don't miss a single video across the board today. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto, then Evenings LA. Then we got 6 shows tonight, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 11:30. To recap, on Saturday night, passage of a $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill in the House Budget Committee, which would signal that it could be really just rubber stamped on the House floor overnight. But they didn't, because Pelosi's still in negotiation with the senators, Democrats, and the president, Democrat, to ensure that everything they want in there, that is included in there. You need to advocate down to the finish line, advocating by picking up the phone and calling AOC, Pelosi, Omar, and calling over to the senators, advocating, I need it, my family needs it, I need it, I need to ensure you did this right. Build Back Better, America Act, should include everything that needs to be included. So far, $3.5 trillion of checks confirmed in there. These checks for everything from hazard pay to seniors and workers, deliciousness. But we can still make it even more delicious. I'll see you next as Afternoon to LA starts and Evening to LA starts as well. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.